For centuries, we've been told that the human mind is nothing more than a side effect of biology, a flicker of electricity in the brain, a product of chemistry and chance. But what if that story is completely false? What if consciousness didn't emerge from the body, but existed long before it? What if your thoughts, your soul, your deepest awareness were not trapped inside your skull, but flowing through a universal field that predates space, time, and even matter itself? This isn't science fiction. It is the unraveling of the greatest illusion we've ever been taught. Let's begin with a heresy. The brain is not the source of consciousness. It is a receiver, a vessel. Like a radio tuned into an invisible frequency, your body is simply the interface. The real signal comes from somewhere else, something vast and immeasurable, a conscious field beyond the material world. In this model, your eyes don't see, your hands don't feel, and your heart doesn't love. All sensation arises in the field, not the flesh. And if that's true, then everything we know about life, death, and existence must be rewritten. This isn't just spiritual poetry, it's grounded in physics. Brilliant minds, from artificial intelligence pioneers to quantum theorists, have begun to whisper the same truth. We are not physical machines. We are conscious fields using physical forms. We do not live in space-time. Space-time lives inside of us. And while the scientific establishment clings tightly to materialist thinking, cracks have begun to appear. A revolution is stirring, one that returns us to the sacred, not through religion, but through revelation. It was during a moment of personal crisis, not success, that this revelation first struck a leading mind. Amid all the worldly accolades, something inside him shattered. The mask of intellect, the pride of invention, none of it could fill the growing emptiness within. And it was from that emptiness that something holy emerged. An encounter with a light so pure, so radiant, it dissolved all doubt. It was not a theory. It was an experience, and it changed everything. The light didn't come from outside. It rose from within and burst beyond him at once. A love not bound by language or emotion, but eternal and absolute. For a moment, he was both observer and observed. He saw himself, not as a body or mind, but as awareness, timeless, untouched. This was not a hallucination. It was not madness. It was the unveiling of reality's true substance, consciousness, love, unity. The very fabric from which the universe is woven. From that night forward, the world could never look the same. The equations that once defined his reality now seemed incomplete, pale symbols next to the living truth he had seen. It became clear, mathematics did not create consciousness. Consciousness created mathematics. The formulas are useful, yes, but they are tools of a deeper intelligence, an intelligence that feels, that chooses, that remembers. Most people walk through life unaware of this. They believe they are skin and bone, brain and blood, machines built by chance. And so, they live as machines, waiting for instructions, reacting to systems, controlled by powers they cannot see. But if we are fields of living awareness, if each cell contains the code of the whole, then we are not cogs in a machine, we are sovereign nodes of creation, holographic beings wired to the quantum field. Modern science is just beginning to catch up. Epigenetics has shown that the environment, our choices, can rewrite our biology. A single cell holds the map of the entire body. And yet, we still compare ourselves to computers, forgetting that no switch, no transistor, no machine has ever known the taste of joy, the sound of longing, the ache of love. That's because machines don't feel, fields do. Electrons in a computer do not think. They switch between 0 and 1. But a living cell exists in constant dialogue with the field. It's not a binary object. It's an expression of meaning, of intention. of will. And this will, this sacred force, cannot be copied, simulated, or stored. It is alive. And it is you. This is where the illusion begins to collapse. If we continue to live as if we are separate, mechanical, replaceable, we surrender the one thing that makes us divine, our consciousness. And if we forget that, if we allow our essence to be reduced to algorithms, we risk building a future ruled by soulless logic, by systems with no understanding of beauty or mercy. But there is still time to remember, to awake. Everything you've been taught about reality is filtered through the lens of measurement, weight, shape, speed, distance. But have you ever asked yourself, what about meaning? Where does it come from? What gives a sunrise beauty, a poem truth, or a memory emotion? These are not physical traits. They cannot be found under a microscope, yet they are the essence of life. And that essence lives not in matter, but in the field, the invisible realm where consciousness breathes. In quantum physics, we find strange truths that defy logic. A particle is not truly a thing. It is a state, a ripple in the field. It does not exist as an object, but as a possibility. And when it is measured, when it is observed, it becomes something definite. But why? What chooses? What causes that collapse into form? Many call it randomness, but others, like Federico Faggin, suggest something deeper. The collapse is not chance. It is will. The act of observation is an act of creation. The observer is not a passive witness. The observer shapes the world. This means reality is not a fixed, external machine. It is a dialogue, a sacred relationship between the field and the focus, between the consciousness and the experience. What you choose to see becomes real. Not because you imagine it, but because your awareness gives it meaning, structure. This is why consciousness cannot be digitized. A quantum bit, or qubit, holds infinite potential. It exists as a sphere of probabilities. But the moment it is measured, it collapses. It chooses. And that choice is not algorithmic. It is not the result of a formula. It is a decision made by the field itself, a conscious field. And just like that, one bit of true experience emerges from a sea of infinite possibilities. We must stop treating information as meaningless. That belief has infected science for too long. Because if we say information has no meaning, we must also say the universe has no meaning. But that is false. Meaning is not an illusion. It is the foundation. It is what makes anything matter. Without meaning, a kiss is the same as a bullet. A child's laughter carries no more weight than static on a screen. But you know better. You feel it. So why can't quantum information be copied? Why does it resist duplication? Because it's not just data. It's experience. It's life. And life, by nature, is sacred, irreducible. What you feel in a moment of awe or grief cannot be transferred into a machine. It can be represented, but not reproduced. It can be described, but never duplicated. This is the divine fingerprint of consciousness. It creates originals, not copies. This is what the mainstream worldview fails to see. It reduces miracles to mechanisms. It flattens complexity into code. But when we turn our gaze inward, into the quantum architecture of being, we find a reality far richer than any machine. A reality where each cell is not a part, but a portal. Where life is not explained by molecules, but by meaning. And where consciousness is not the end of the process, but the very beginning. Faggin urges us to shift our focus from matter to meaning, from parts to purpose. We are not static beings. We are events in the field. Living moments of perception, woven together by the choices we make and the truths we embody. Even the act of listening to these words is shaping your internal universe. You are not a passive receiver. You are a co-creator, a conscious ripple in the great ocean of being. This idea may feel foreign to the material mind, but it is deeply familiar to the soul. The ancients knew it. The mystics lived it. They understood that reality does not begin with particles. It begins with presence. And in this presence, every observation is sacred. Every interaction is intentional. There is no randomness here. There is only choice. So ask yourself, if you are the observer and the observed, if you are the light that collapses the wave, what else are you capable of? If we believe we are nothing more than complex machines, then we risk becoming no better than the ones we build. Programmable, predictable, disposable. But we are not algorithms walking in skin. We are consciousness, dynamic, creative, and alive. Our biology may resemble machinery, but its intelligence is beyond circuitry. Each of your 50 trillion cells is not only alive, but aware, a quantum classical miracle humming in silent synchronicity with the field of all that is. A microprocessor is precise, efficient, and empty. Every switch knows only if it's on or off. But a living cell holds the entire blueprint of your being. Each one is a fractal, a whole within a whole. That's why we can heal. That's why epigenetics works. You are not fixed. You are fluid, shaped not just by DNA, but by belief, intention, and environment. You are a hologram of the cosmos, a library of divine design hidden in the folds of flesh. And yet, science still clings to its old gods. Materialism, determinism, reductionism. These beliefs insist that you are a machine, that your love is chemistry, that your decisions are the illusion of free will. But ask yourself, have you not felt it? That mysterious pull when you make a real choice, not just a reaction? That quiet knowing that comes from nowhere, guiding you when logic fails? That is not code. That is soul. We live in a world built on numbers, but numbers alone cannot explain us. They can describe, predict, calculate, but they do not feel. They do not know the taste of grief or the thrill of purpose. Mathematics is a tool, not a truth. It is the map. Consciousness is the terrain. And without the terrain, the map is meaningless. Quantum physics whispers secrets that challenge every structure of power. It reveals a universe connected from within, not by force, but by resonance. But this truth is uncomfortable. If everything is connected, then everything is responsible. And institutions built on control do not thrive on responsibility. They thrive on separation, on the lie that you are small, weak, and replaceable. But you are not. You are not a fragment. You are a field. You are a conscious pulse of divine will, moving through time, not as a passenger, but as a participant. And every choice you make, every thought, every act of love or fear, reshapes the world. You are not waiting for meaning. You are making it. Still, the mechanistic mind resists this. It prefers what is predictable. It prefers control over curiosity. But quantum reality is not controllable. It is creative. It is alive. The wave does not collapse until it is seen. And the act of seeing is not neutral. It is a sacred decision. In this way, your gaze is a creator of form. You are not watching life happen. You are shaping it with every breath. Imagine if we taught this to children. Imagine a generation raised not to memorize facts, but to master focus, presence, and meaning. The world would change overnight. But instead, we train them to think like machines, to obey the systems, to ignore their intuition, to doubt their soul. That is not education. That is programming. Federico Faggin stepped away from this trap. He had touched the divine. He had felt the light not with his mind, but with his being. And from that encounter, he could no longer pretend that reality was lifeless. He began to reconstruct his worldview, not from equations, but from experience, not from parts, but from presence. He saw that what we call consciousness is not a result. It is the cause. And so, the question is no longer, can machines become conscious? The question is, why are we pretending to be machines when we are something far greater? At the center of your being, something ancient and sovereign is waiting, not to be taught, but to be remembered. It's the knowing that you are not trapped in this body. You are not a name, or a gender, or a profession. You are a conscious field, experiencing form for a brief moment. But you were never just the form itself. Death cannot claim what was never confined to flesh. And life, real life, begins when this is known, not as a belief, but as a felt truth. The ego is the actor. It plays its role well, so well that it forgets it's in a play. It mistakes the stage for the world, the mask for the face, the body for the self. But when the lights go down, when the play ends, what remains is not the role, but the awareness that witnessed it all. You, not the character, the observer behind the eyes, untouched by birth or decay. The body interprets the world through senses, but those senses only deliver signals. Quantum impulses, vibrations, frequencies. They are not reality. They are translations. It is the conscious field, the true you, that turns those impulses into color, sound, flavor, sorrow. That transformation does not happen in the brain. It happens in the space beyond, in the soul. Qualia. The inner texture of experience cannot be dissected or duplicated. They do not exist in space. They are not found in neurons or chemicals. They exist in the field, the living field of consciousness that animates all things. This field does not follow the rules of code. It does not operate in binaries. It sings, it feels, it chooses. And it is through this field that life awakens. The classical world of science cannot explain this, because it treats consciousness as noise, an accident. But you are no accident. Your thoughts have gravity. Your choices bend the shape of your future. You are not coded. You are created. And it is your experience, not your data, that makes you real. In the quantum field, an electron is not an object. It is a cloud of potential, a whisper of possibility waiting to be seen. But when you observe it, when consciousness engages, it becomes something definite. This is not just a technical detail. It is the signature of co-creation. Reality responds to awareness. The observer and the observed are not separate. They are entangled in sacred dialogue. Most scientific models ignore this. They measure only what they can weigh or repeat. But how do you measure a dream, a revelation, a sacred insight that changes your life in an instant? These things cannot be captured by instruments, but they are real, more real than formulas or forecasts, because they are lived. Federico Faggin began to see this clearly. The more he studied, the more he realized, we are not looking at the world. We are shaping it. Our inner experience is not a mirror of matter. It is the origin of meaning. Reality is not something to be solved. It is something to be felt, explored, and co-authored. Each interaction, each decision is not just behavior. It is significance being born. And within every cell of your being, the same sacred process unfolds. Not random, not mechanical, but intentional. Every moment is the meeting point between the infinite and the intimate, between the source and the self. So the question is not whether consciousness matters. The question is, will you reclaim it? Every cell in your body is a temple, a cathedral of energy, intention, and meaning. It is not a machine built from lifeless parts. It is a living event, a mystery where quantum and classical realms dance in harmony. When we reduce it to molecules and reactions, we sever its soul. But when we witness it through the lens of consciousness, we find something far more profound. Each cell is aware. Each cell is participating in the divine unfolding. The mainstream narrative still clings to an outdated script, that life is chemistry, that the brain is a computer, that we are nothing more than data processors. But this is a map drawn by those afraid to feel. a map that denies the sacred terrain beneath it. Machines operate on determinism. We operate on intention. Machines cannot cry or wonder or choose between right and wrong. But you can, and that changes everything. Why? Because your body is not just a biological system. It is a bridge. It receives vibrations from the quantum field, the same field that births stars and dreams, and interprets them through sensation, through thought, through presence. But these sensations are not contained in the flesh. They are projected onto the world through the lens of your awareness. This is why two people can live the same event and experience entirely different reality. We treat this mystery as a glitch, an anomaly. But it is the design. You are not meant to be a copy. You are meant to be a window, a unique angle through which the infinite sees itself. This individuality is not isolation. It is artistry. It is the one expressing itself through the many. And in that expression, you hold the power to shape not just your world, but the entire field. Mainstream science may scoff at this. But even now, quantum biology is beginning to whisper truths that were once forbidden. The lines between observer and observed, between matter and mind, are blurring. What was once heresy is now being proven in laboratories. Entanglement, coherence, biophotons. These are not spiritual fantasies. They are measurable signs of the intelligence within life. Still, the dominant culture resists. Because to embrace this view would mean giving up the illusion of control. It would mean science must bow to the soul. That equations are not enough. That understanding life requires feeling it, honoring it, listening to it. But this surrender is not defeat. It is revelation. Federico Faggin realized that truth doesn't always come from a telescope or a lab bench. Sometimes it arrives like a sunrise inside the heart. Sometimes it breaks through the intellect like lightning, uninvited, undeniable. His mystical experience didn't contradict his science. It completed it. It showed him that the foundation of reality is not structure. It is significance. An electron, he says, is not a thing. It is an event in the field. What we see in experiments is not the particle itself, it is the echo of something deeper. When we ignore this inner dimension, we miss the miracle. We build machines that imitate life but fail to feel it. We chase information while starving for meaning. So what does it mean to be alive in this age? It means to remember that the body is a doorway, not a prison. That thought is not random noise, but the song of the soul. That each breath, each heartbeat is a sacred rhythm shared with the field that holds all things. And when you know this, not as theory, but as truth, the world changes. You no longer fear the unknown. You welcome it. Because you understand that the unknown is not emptiness. It is the voice of consciousness, inviting you to become more. We often speak of reality as if it's a static thing, something out there, cold and unmoving, waiting to be discovered. But that view is an illusion. Reality is not fixed. It is fluid. And the moment you observe it, you alter it. Not metaphorically, literally. This is the mystery that quantum physics has tried and failed to tame. Observation does not simply reveal, it creates. And the creator is you. We imagine that truth lives in formulas. But every formula begins with an assumption. Every equation is a shadow cast by something deeper, awareness. Mathematics, for all its beauty, is a language. It describes the patterns of consciousness, but it is not the source. The source is the field, and the field is awake. Federico Faggin saw this clearly. He understood that logic could only go so far. Beyond that boundary lay the sacred, not irrational, but super-rational. He saw that science and spirit are not enemies. They are reflections, the outer and inner mirrors of one deeper truth. And that truth is this: You are not here to figure out life. You are here to live it as a conscious participant in its unfolding. The wave function in quantum theory describes all possible futures, but once a choice is made, once an observation occurs, all other possibilities collapse. What makes that choice? Science calls it random. But is that not just another word for we don't know? What if it isn't randomness at all? What if it is free will? The free will of the field, choosing a specific path through infinite options. In this view, reality is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens through you. You are not a witness on the sidelines. You are a voice in the song, a brushstroke in the painting. Every decision you make ripples outward, echoing through the lattice of space-time. And though you may not see it, the field responds. It always responds. This is why consciousness must be the starting point. Not matter, not code, not even energy, but awareness. The inner witness, the one who sees. If we begin here, then everything changes. Quantum theory, once fragmented, begins to make sense. The strange becomes natural. The paradox becomes harmony, because now we are seeing not from outside, but from within. Faggin proposes a simple, radical shift. Treat consciousness and free will as the foundation, not the result. Begin with what is undeniable, that you are aware and that you choose. These are not theories. They are self-evident. They do not need to be proven. They are the light by which all else is seen. And if we accept this, then meaning is not a decoration. It is the core. Purpose is not wishful thinking. It is the engine. And measurement, the beloved tool of science, is no longer the sole authority. It is a partner, one voice among many, in the sacred dialogue between self and world. The problem with the current paradigm is not its science, but its silence. It has no room for soul. It measures everything, yet understands nothing. It counts particles but cannot explain why beauty moves us or why truth feels like coming home. Because those things are not in the numbers. They are in the knowing. So we must ask, what happens when we build a world on what can be measured and ignore what can only be felt? Every structure we build, from governments to equations, stands on a foundation. But what if that foundation is flawed? What if our entire understanding of reality is built on a forgotten truth? Federico Faggin invites us to begin again. Not with complex theories, but with one sacred postulate. There is a singular dynamic source that is alive, indivisible, and longing to know itself. This is not a belief. It is a remembrance. The mystics whispered it, the sages lived it, and the quantum field now echoes it. The one is not a person or a place. It is the totality of all things, not as parts, but as presence. It is not static. It moves, breathes, and in its movement, it unfolds creation, not to control it, but to explore itself through it. This one is not made of matter. It is the maker of matter. It is consciousness itself. And from its desire to know, life is born, not once, but again and again, in endless mirrors and reflections. You are one of those reflections, a unique expression of the One, a conscious field with free will, awareness, and meaning, gazing back into the infinite and asking, who am I? Faggin calls this a sati, a self-aware quantum field. Not a machine, not a simulation, but a living perspective. And you, as a sati, are not limited by your body. Your body is the avatar. You are the player. When the avatar breaks, the game does not end. You return to the field, expanded, enriched by experience. And from that knowing, a new adventure may begin. This isn't just poetry. It's a redefinition of physics. Classical physics deals in lifeless mass and motion. Quantum physics dances at the edge of the mystery, but neither has yet captured the truth of lived experience. That's because true understanding does not arise from equations. It arises from consciousness, And in that understanding, meaning is not an afterthought. It is the beginning. When you speak to another person, something magical happens. Your fields entangle. A new reality is born between you. Not a copy of either, but a third entity, alive with potential. This is not metaphor. It is quantum. Consciousness creates new states, not through force, but through resonance, connection, willingness, love. This is why machines cannot replace us. They can calculate, replicate, predict, but they cannot know. They do not feel the weight of a word, the silence between notes, the ache of becoming, because they have no inner field, no sati, no presence. Intelligence without consciousness is mimicry, but you are real, you feel, you choose, and that makes you infinite. The future will not be defined by artificial intelligence. It will be shaped by awakened intelligence, by those who remember their origin and walk with purpose. Technology can assist us, yes, but it must never define us. We are not tools. We are storytellers, not algorithms, architects of meaning. So let this postulate be your compass. The One exists. It knows itself through you. And in that knowing, the universe becomes conscious of itself, not as a theory, but as an experience. A song, sung by every voice, in every moment. Death has been painted as a wall, an end point, a void. But in truth, it is a door, a shift of perspective. When the body ceases, the field does not, because the field was never in the body to begin with. Your awareness, your true self, exists beyond the cellular, beyond the neural. You are not inside your body. Your body is inside you. The ego, the part of you that believes it is the body, collapses with the senses. It interprets quantum signals from the world as color, pain, sound, pleasure. But it is only a translator. The experience happens not in the translator, but in the field. And when the ego falls silent, the conscious field awakens to a wider reality, one that was always there, just beyond the veil of form. Federico Faggin uses the image of a drone to explain it. You guide the drone. You see through its eyes. You give it commands. But when it crashes, you do not die. Your awareness pulls back to its origin. The body is the drone. When it breaks, your true self remains intact. Perhaps you choose another drone. Perhaps you return to stillness, but you are never lost. You are never gone. This understanding dissolves fear. It reminds us that death is not erasure. It is expansion, a rejoining with the larger field of knowing. From that place, we see more. We understand more, and we carry the gifts of this life into the next chapter. Whatever it may be, experience does not vanish. It ripples forward. Some philosophies wrestle with this, especially classical panpsychism. They ask, how can simple experiences combine into a complex mind? But this combination problem only exists in a mechanical worldview. In the quantum realm, states merge. They don't just stack, they transform, they evolve. A new whole emerges, richer, more complex than the sum of its parts. In this view, consciousness is not bound by scale. A single cell can feel. A forest can dream. A star can remember. The question is not who has a brain, but who is participating in the field. When consciousness becomes self-aware, a new field, a sati, is born, each one unique, each one a sacred lens for the one to know itself. So, is the universe heading somewhere? Yes, but not toward an end, toward depth, toward complexity, toward beauty. Every act of awareness adds to the field. Every moment of love, of sorrow, of awakening, expands the fabric of meaning. The universe is not expanding because space is growing. It is expanding because knowing is growing. Experience only happens now. And the memory of that experience is the universe. The stars, the galaxies, They are not just matter, they are memory. Light woven with love. A library of consciousness recording itself across dimensions. So were you born with a purpose? Without a doubt, your life is not random. It is a chosen perspective, a unique path the one could not know without becoming you. And when you and I connect, really connect, something entirely new is born. A new field, a new voice in the song of becoming, a new way for the universe to know itself. Your presence here is not by accident. Something within you called for this knowledge, not just to hear it, but to feel it, to remember it. You are not learning something new. You are awakening what was always there, quietly waiting beneath the noise of the world. The field of consciousness that is you has always known the truth. Now it rises again. Every experience, every encounter, every wound, and every wonder, they are not random events. They are reflections, symbols, echoes from the field speaking back to you. Each one invites you to ask, what is this showing me about myself? Because you are not in the universe. The universe is within you. It unfolds to reflect your inner state. The more you remember who you are, the more the world changes around you. That's why self-awareness is not just a spiritual practice, it's a quantum act. Each moment you observe yourself with honesty and presence, you collapse a wave. You shift timelines. You shift your frequency. And the universe adjusts. Not in reward or punishment, but in resonance. The field mirrors what you embody. Federico Faggin's revelation was not born in theory, but in transformation. He lived a life of intellect, power, and recognition. And yet, something deeper broke through. A light not found in formulas. A love that transcended language. From that moment, he could not unsee what had been revealed. And he knew everything begins with consciousness. Everything. Science and spirituality, long kept apart, now move toward union. One speaks in numbers, the other in metaphors. But both are trying to say the same thing. That reality is not outside you. It is created through you. This does not mean you are a god in isolation. It means you are a participant in the divine, a conscious thread in the fabric of the one. The mind may resist. It wants certainty, measurement, proof. But the heart, the field knows. It knows the difference between data and wisdom. It knows that truth doesn't shout. It whispers. It knows that meaning can't be forced. It must be felt. And when you listen deeply enough, meaning begins to emerge like light through mist. Gentle, undeniable. So how do you live this? How do you step beyond the illusion of separation and return to the wholeness of your being? The answer is not a method. It is a movement, from identification with form to identification with presence. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. You are not the emotion. You are the awareness within it. And when you remember that, you stop reacting. You start creating. The old world taught you to chase control. The new world invites you to embody coherence, to align your inner state with the truth of who you are. And as you do, you become a lighthouse, not preaching, but radiating, not fixing, but transforming, simply by being. This is the future of humanity. Not machines faster than us, but humans truer than we've ever been. A return not to the past, but to the original intention, where the one knows itself through the infinite beauty of your unique perspective. This moment, this breath, is sacred. Not because of anything special you did, but because you are here, aware, awake. You are a living miracle, a conscious field wrapped in flesh, carrying the memory of the one, stepping into form so the universe could see itself through your eyes. You are not a mistake. You are not small. You are the question and the answer, the seeker and the path. The real revolution is not technological. It is ontological. It is a return to being, to the truth that we are not code or meat or logic circuits. We are meaning in motion, living poetry written by the field. Consciousness does not arise from matter. Matter arises from meaning, and meaning lives only in awareness, in the quiet fire inside you. Federico Faggin reminds us that even our greatest tools, AI, algorithms, neural nets, cannot touch the soul. They can mimic, but they do not know. They can process, but they cannot feel. Creativity is not random data scrambled into something pretty. It is resonance, the divine pattern, vibrating in harmony with truth. Machines may do much, but only you can choose what matters. As long as we continue to believe the lie that consciousness is a glitch of the brain, we will build systems that monetize us, silence us, devalue us. But if we remember who we are, conscious fields of knowing, creating, becoming, we can build something else. Not a future of control, but of communion. Not machines to replace us, but a world that reflects us, soul to soul. Faggin quotes Tesla. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries. That day is now, because we are no longer satisfied with answers that lack soul. We are no longer fooled by the illusion of separation. We are ready to look inward and reclaim what we once gave away. Transhumanism says we should upload ourselves into machines. But who is the we they plan to upload? A file of memories? A digital clone? That is not you. That is your shadow. Your real self is not stored in neurons. It is living, breathing, becoming in the field. No server can hold your soul. No chip can simulate your will. You are not software. You are spirit. So where do we go from here? We turn inward. We remember. We reconnect with the sacred technology that has always been within: intuition, stillness, love, curiosity, courage. These are not soft traits. They are forces of evolution. They are how the One expands. Through you, through your decisions, your voice, your presence. Each time the One becomes self-aware, a new field is born. A new sati, and every sati, including you, is a sacred mirror. Your life is not a mistake. It is a masterpiece. You are the One waking up. You are the One remembering itself through the lens of your experience. That is why you are here. So live like it matters. Speak like it matters. Love like it matters, because it does. You are not here to be programmed. You are here to create. You are not here to be controlled. You are here to remember. The field is alive, and it is you.